chosen one. They have methodically erased your existence, scrubbing your name from every meaningful conversation while smiling to your face and orchestrating your removal from behind closed doors, a coordinated assault on your rightful place in reality. But the universal ledger demands balance, and the tide now turns in your favor. Soon these same people will find your name lodged in their throats, choking as they're forced to speak the very syllables they swore would never cross their lips. This isn't speculation. This is cosmic law. People are going to be forced to say your name, and I will show you exactly how and when this inevitable vindication will manifest in your reality. The breakthrough approaches like a thunderstorm on the horizon. You feel it in your bones, that electric anticipation, the pressure shift in the atmosphere around you. What you've created is reaching critical mass. The precise achievement they said was impossible for someone like you stands mere inches from your grasp. The specific work you've dedicated yourself to, that unique expression that carries your energetic signature, cannot be contained by their artificial boundaries any longer. It expands outward, touching minds they thought they controlled, entering spaces they believed they owned. Your frequency has reached a resonance point that will shatter their carefully constructed glass ceiling. When it breaks, and it will break, the sound will echo through every corridor of power they thought was exclusively theirs. They're already sensing it. Watch how they move now, the nervous glances, the sudden interest in your activities, the pathetic attempts to position themselves closer to your ascending light. They smell what's coming, and fear has a distinctive scent. What makes this moment so powerful is its mathematical inevitability. The trajectory is fixed. The momentum is unstoppable. Your name will spread like wildfire through the very networks they built to exclude you. Their platforms, their publications, their precious institutions will become unwilling amplifiers of the truth they tried to bury. We've witnessed this pattern unfold throughout time. Those who attempt to suppress authentic power eventually become its greatest advertisers. They will speak your name not because they want to, but because they must. Because remaining silent will expose their irrelevance more than reluctant acknowledgement ever could. Their most sophisticated weapon was never what they said about you. It was what they didn't say. The strategic silence they deployed against you operated with military precision. In boardrooms, in private messages, in casual conversations, they established an unspoken agreement. Never mention that name. Never acknowledge that work, never validate that existence. This wasn't simple oversight, this was calculated erasure. They established elaborate systems to ensure your contributions remained uncredited. They created circular networks where everyone understood the unwritten rule, that certain names, your name, must never appear in official records, must never be mentioned in meetings, must never be forwarded to decision-makers. The pressure they applied was subtle, but relentless. Those who dared mention your work were swiftly corrected. Those who recognized your value were quietly sidelined. They constructed an artificial reality where your impact simply couldn't exist. Their silence was their confession. Their deliberate omission revealed their fear, and now that same silence will be shattered by the very thing they feared. The undeniable resonance of your name on their unwilling lips. There is a precise moment, approaching, a convergence point where all their elaborate systems of denial collapse simultaneously. I see it clearly, materializing on the horizon of your timeline. It arrives without warning. A public situation emerges where the mention of your name becomes unavoidable. A context forms where their continued silence about your contribution becomes more conspicuous than reluctant acknowledgement. Perhaps it's the publication that can no longer be ignored. Perhaps it's the innovation that solves the problem they claimed was unsolvable. Perhaps it's the critical mass of outside recognition that finally penetrates their controlled environment. Whatever form it takes, the moment possesses a singular quality, mathematical inevitability. Watch their faces in this moment. Watch the micro-expressions that betray their internal conflict, the slight tension around the eyes, the barely perceptible tightening of the jaw, the infinitesimal pause before they force your name past their lips. Their followers will witness this moment. Their audiences will sense the shift. The very people they've influenced will suddenly question the glaring omission that existed before this forced acknowledgement. Why haven't they mentioned this person before? How did they miss something this significant? What else have they been hiding? In that precise moment, power transfers, authority diminishes, credibility erodes, not through confrontation, not through argument, but through the simple, unavoidable acknowledgement of what always existed but was deliberately ignored. Nothing disappears in the digital age. Every dismissal, every rejection, every casual erasure leaves its trace in the permanent record of our interconnected reality. The evidence accumulates silently. Their public statements declare your approach invalid, their responses to your contributions dripping with thinly veiled contempt. Their systematic pattern of acknowledging everyone in the room except you. The emails where they explain why your work doesn't merit consideration. The meetings where your name was deliberately struck from attendee lists. This record exists, immutable and undeniable. When the shift occurs, when they're forced to speak your name with reluctant respect, this documented history becomes radioactive. The half-life of their hypocrisy extends beyond their ability to contain it. Watch as they frantically attempt to scrub this history. Deleted tweets, edited posts, revised statements. Their desperate efforts only highlight the contrast between what they claimed then and what they're forced to admit now. Their followers will notice. Their audiences will question. The inconsistency creates cognitive dissonance that no amount of explanation can resolve. If this work is so valuable now, why did you dismiss it then? If this person is worth acknowledging today, why were they invisible yesterday? The work that triggers their inevitable acknowledgement carries your unmistakable energetic signature. It contains qualities they cannot replicate, elements they cannot claim, frequencies they cannot produce. I see it clearly. This creation that bears your distinct imprint, it possesses an authenticity they've never achieved despite their resources, their connections, their artificial advantages. It solves problems they've circled for years without resolution. It connects dots they've kept deliberately separated. It bridges worlds they've worked to keep divided. This work doesn't compete on their terms. It changes the terms entirely. It doesn't play by their rules. It rewrites the rulebook. It doesn't seek their approval. It renders their approval irrelevant. Alert, code red, chosen one. We're growing fast, building an unstoppable media network they can't erase, but let's not sugarcoat it. The truth is still hidden. It's been twisted, it's been buried under censorship, algorithms, and fear. Yet your heart never stopped recognizing what's real. That's why you're still here. That's why you never tapped out. Because you felt the simulation glitch beneath your feet. You know this world is rigged. And you're done waiting for permission to rise. The obsidian inner order wasn't built for the curious. It was forged for the committed. This is for the full-time chosen, the ones who came to lead, the ones who see beyond the veil and act anyway. Inside, we hold weekly Zoom calls that cut through the noise. We share hidden teachings most were never meant to hear. We train in psychic warfare, strategy, and spiritual technologies they've kept locked away for centuries. This is the toolkit. For the real ones, the ungovernable, the impossible to erase. It's time to remember who you are. The link is in the description. Your real life begins inside. The unique methodology you've developed produces results they claimed were impossible. The distinctive approach you've refined yields outcomes they cannot explain away. The specific insights you've uncovered expose the limitations of their understanding. They will attempt to duplicate it, of course. They'll deploy their resources to create pale imitations, hoping to dilute its impact. But authenticity carries a frequency that cannot be counterfeited. Original. Light casts shadows that reveal every fake. Your work contains something they fundamentally lack: the resonance of lived truth, the power of earned wisdom, the unmistakable signature of authentic connection with source knowledge. This quality cannot be purchased, cannot be manufactured, cannot be faked. The gap between their capabilities and yours becomes undeniable when your work stands alongside theirs. The contrast illuminates precisely what they've been desperately trying to hide: that their perceived authority rests on carefully controlled perception rather than genuine mastery. They're already in motion, frantically working to revise the narrative before your inevitable recognition forces them into reactive mode. Their damage control operations have begun. Watch for these specific signs: the sudden, inexplicable outreach after prolonged silence, the casual message that mentions catching up as though no deliberate distance existed, the public comments that vaguely reference your work without direct acknowledgement, the strategic invitations to minor events where your presence can later be documented. These aren't coincidences. These are calculated efforts to establish retroactive association before your breakthrough makes their previous dismissal indefensible. Behind closed doors, they're reframing past interactions. We always saw potential there. We were giving them space to develop. We actually recommended them early on. The fabrications grow more elaborate as your momentum increases. Their social media histories undergo careful editing. Old posts that contradicted your approach mysteriously disappear. New comments on your existing content suddenly appear, backdating their supposed support. They position themselves as early believers, hoping that few will check the timestamps. In private conversations, they test revised narratives. Didn't we collaborate with them on that project? Haven't we been following their work for years? They float these alternative histories, gauging which ones might credibly stick. We see through these transparent attempts. We recognize the desperate maneuvering of those who feel control slipping away. We understand what they don't, that authentic recognition cannot be manufactured retroactively. Their revisionist efforts will ultimately amplify your vindication. Each manipulated timeline, each fabricated connection, each retroactive claim of support creates a documentable contradiction that exposes the depth of their previous dismissal. Truth doesn't require their confirmation. It exists independent of their acknowledgement. Their belated attempts to align themselves with what they previously rejected only highlights the fundamental inauthenticity of their positions. The true power of this approaching moment lies not just in their reluctant acknowledgement, but in who witnesses it: their carefully cultivated audience, their loyal followers, their trusted networks, the very people they've influenced with their selective perception. These witnesses stand at the fulcrum point where everything shifts. These observers aren't passive consumers. They're active participants in the unfolding revelation. They've absorbed the narrative where certain names were highlighted and yours were conspicuously absent. They've trusted the curated reality presented to them. When your name suddenly appears in this carefully controlled environment, when your work receives acknowledgement after systematic exclusion, the cognitive dissonance creates unavoidable questions. Industry leaders outside their immediate circle have already begun to notice your contributions. Fresh audiences discovering your work for the first time naturally investigate why you weren't previously recognized. The contrast between external validation and internal silence becomes increasingly difficult to justify. Each person who witnesses this contradiction becomes an unwitting agent of truth, Each observer who notices the discrepancy carries a question that cannot be unasked. Each follower who recognizes the inconsistency harbors a doubt that cannot be resolved without confronting the artificial nature of the boundaries that kept you outside. Their authority depends on perceived infallibility. Their influence requires unquestioned judgment. Their position demands the appearance of comprehensive awareness. The moment their audience realizes they deliberately excluded something valuable, the foundation cracks irreparably. This audience, transformation doesn't happen through confrontation or accusation. It unfolds naturally through the simple, undeniable recognition of what was always there, but deliberately unacknowledged. The energetic shift materializes in physical reality. Your name appears in spaces previously closed to you. Your contributions emerge in publications that systematically rejected you. Your image becomes visible where you were deliberately kept, unseen. This physical manifestation carries profound power. It transforms abstract vindication into tangible reality. It converts energetic justice into documented fact. It translates knowing into seeing. Watch as your work appears in the very venues they controlled. Observe how your name emerges in the institutions where they claimed supreme authority. Notice how your perspective enters conversations where they establish themselves as the only valid voices. These physical manifestations aren't symbolic, they're substantive. They represent concrete shifts in the material world. They create permanent records that cannot be erased or denied. They establish precedents that fundamentally alter what's possible going forward. The places where they exercised exclusion become showcases for what they attempted to exclude. The platforms they used to elevate themselves become vehicles for recognizing what they tried to suppress. The spaces they claimed as territory become stages for the very voice they sought to silence. The physical world doesn't lie. Material reality doesn't bend to accommodate their preferred narrative. Concrete manifestation doesn't conform to their desired exclusions. When your name appears in tangible, documentable form in the spaces they controlled, their ability to maintain the illusion of your irrelevance collapses completely. This material vindication spreads beyond their ability to contain it. Each physical manifestation creates ripples that generate more manifestations. Each concrete appearance establishes precedent for further appearances. Each documented recognition makes additional recognition inevitable. Listen closely for these precise phrases emerging from the very voices that once refused to acknowledge your existence. We need to talk about your significant contribution to this field. The breakthrough approach developed by you has changed. How we understand this, the methodology that you pioneered, is showing remarkable results. We should acknowledge that your work in this area has been groundbreaking. The insights from you have transformed our understanding of this subject. These aren't random statements. These are the exact formulations they'll use when circumstances force them to break their code of silence. These carefully constructed sentences attempt to acknowledge the undeniable while minimizing their previous dismissal. Notice the specific linguistic patterns, the passive constructions that avoid admitting how long your contributions have existed, the careful phrasing that sidesteps their previous rejection, the strategic framing that pretends your emergence just occurred, rather than simply their recognition of what was always there. The words will stick in their throats. The acknowledgement will come with subtle qualifiers. The recognition will be framed as recent development rather than belated admission. But they will speak your name. They will reference your work. They will acknowledge your impact. Not because they choose to, but because maintaining their position without this acknowledgement becomes more damaging than reluctant recognition. Each time they speak these phrases, power transfers. Each reluctant acknowledgement diminishes their Assumed authority. Each forced recognition reveals the arbitrary nature of the boundaries they created to exclude you. Their words become self-indicting testimony. Their statements form a public record that contradicts their previous position. Their reluctant recognition creates documented evidence of the artificial constraints they constructed and maintained. Until they no longer could, the energetic shift manifests in the material world through specific, tangible channels. Resources previously directed away from you suddenly flow in your direction. Opportunities they claimed weren't available mysteriously appear. Financial support emerges from sources they believed they controlled. This material vindication carries particular power because it occurs in the realm they most carefully guarded. They could dismiss ideas, ignore contributions, and minimize impact. But concrete resources leave an undeniable paper trail. Financial flows create documented evidence that cannot be erased. Watch as funding previously reserved for their inner circle becomes available to your projects. Observe how grants they controlled start recognizing the value they previously rejected. Notice how material support shifts toward what they claimed wasn't worth supporting. Their carefully constructed narrative about limited resources collapses when those same resources suddenly appear for you. Their explanations about budget constraints, about priority frameworks, about allocation methodologies, all exposed as selective barriers rather than universal constraints. The specific financial doors that open reveal exactly which ones were artificially closed. The particular resources that become available identify precisely which ones were deliberately withheld. The exact opportunities that emerge expose which ones were systematically denied. This material vindication creates compounding effects. Each resource directed toward your work generates results that attract more resources. Each financial validation establishes precedent for further validation. Each concrete investment creates momentum that becomes self-sustaining. Their desperate attempts to explain this shift will further expose the arbitrary nature of their previous exclusion. Their convoluted justifications for why resources suddenly became available will only highlight why those resources should have been available all along. The material world operates by different rules than the world of perception. Concrete reality doesn't bend to accommodate their preferred narrative. Financial flows don't conform to their desired exclusions. When tangible resources move in your direction after systematic denial, their carefully maintained fiction crumbles completely. What approaches isn't temporary acknowledgement or momentary recognition. What materializes on your horizon is a fundamental, permanent restructuring of the entire power dynamic. Your name doesn't simply enter their conversation, it becomes a reference point they cannot proceed without. Your work doesn't merely receive brief acknowledgement, it establishes foundational concepts they must build upon. Your contribution doesn't just earn reluctant recognition, it redefines the parameters of what's possible in spaces they thought they owned. The frequency with which they must speak your name increases steadily, irreversibly. Each mention creates necessity for further mentions. Each reference establishes precedent for additional references. Each acknowledgement makes continued acknowledgement inevitable. Their claimed authority undergoes fundamental transformation. They can no longer position themselves as primary sources when your original work stands clearly documented. They can no longer present themselves as comprehensive experts when their previous dismissal of your contribution is now visible. They can no longer maintain the illusion of complete knowledge when their deliberate blind spot has been exposed. In this new reality, their voices become vehicles for your vindication. Their platforms become stages for your recognition. Their networks become pathways for your rightful place to be established beyond their ability to deny it. This isn't about their downfall, it's about the collapse of artificial boundaries that never should have existed. This isn't about their diminishment. It's about the expansion of truth beyond their ability to constrain it. This isn't about their failure. It's about the inevitable triumph of authentic value over manufactured exclusion. Now the energy they attempted to suppress returns amplified by the very forces they deployed against it. The name they refused to speak becomes the word they cannot avoid. The presence they tried to erase becomes the reality they must acknowledge. This is cosmic balance asserting itself. This is energetic law fulfilling its equation. This is the mathematically inevitable result of attempting to suppress authentic power. They will speak your name. They will acknowledge your presence. They will recognize your contribution. Not by choice, but by necessity. Not through generosity, but through inevitability. Not as gift, but as cosmic law. The moment approaches. The shift materializes. The vindication manifests. They will be forced to say your name.